kitchen. Today I'm going to be cooking something that when we first moved here to Middle Georgia, we found a restaurant that served these Italian egg rolls, and they were fantastic. The only problem is the restaurant closed about a year later, and we haven't been able to find them since. So what I'm going to do is try to recreate it today, and hopefully it's going to turn out great. It has chicken, Parmesan, cream cheese, spinach, mozzarella cheese, all wrapped in an egg roll wrapper and then deep fried. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start by grinding up the chicken that I have. The restaurant originally had chicken in theirs. I was going to do turkey or sausage. However, I decided I didn't want to do sausage. I'd rather wanted it to be more like what we had. But when I got to the grocery store, all the ground turkey looked a little risky. So I decided to go ahead and get out the KitchenAid with the grinder and go ahead and grind up my chicken that I bought. So I'm going to start this. And this is grinding up pretty good. And I'm using my large grinder die for the grinder, so that way it's still in pretty good size. We don't want it to be mush. My chicken is all ground, and it was about 2 chicken breasts or 1 pound. To that I'm going to be adding some stuff while I'm cooking it. So I'm going to add 2 cloves of garlic. This is actually 3, but 2 of them are kind of skinny. And I'm just going to peel those and get them ready to put in the crusher because I want them to be crushed. And whenever I'm peeling garlic, I press down on them and cut the ends off, but I don't cut all the way through. And that kind of gives me, it kind of makes it a little easier to peel. And when I pull it up, it kind of holds it down and peels that. Starts the crust going off because I don't have fingernails. So, and plus you don't want your fingers to smell like garlic forever. So those are going to be ready to put in the garlic press. Also, I'm going to mince up 1 medium onion or chop it. And the way I usually do my onions is I chop them or I slice them first in half so it doesn't roll around, then into slices. Then I can hold on to it and get them chopped pretty good. I've got everything ready here to get started on the stove. I've got my chicken. My onion is chopped, garlic is crushed. I have about a half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper, and a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg here for my spices. And 1 package of frozen spinach that has been thawed out and drained and squished so that way all the water comes out because we don't want this to be watery. So the next thing we're going to do is get this on the stove and start adding everything together. Got everything over here at the stove. I've got my pan on medium. I'm going to add a little olive oil to it here so it'll kind of help because the chicken doesn't really have any fat on it. So I've got my olive oil, pan on medium. I'm going to go ahead and add my chicken. And it should start browning up here in a second. So what we're going to wait for, so it took a minute there for my chicken and pan to get heated up. I didn't have it on quite long enough. And this is starting to turn white, as you can see. I'm also now, at this time, going to go ahead and add the onion that I had chopped up because we want these to kind of come together, their flavors to come together. And we're just going to keep turning this until all the chicken is white and pretty much cooked through. Also, I need to add a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. I had forgot to mention that earlier, and I apologize, but we're going to go ahead and just sprinkle on 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning, and then we're going to continue to cook this and keep stirring it until all the chicken is cooked through. It's not really going to brown very much. The chicken has pretty much cooked through. I'm going to make a little hole here in the middle, and I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot of oil. There's pretty much no oil. So I'm just going to let this garlic cook for just a minute here in the middle, just to kind of get the bitter out. And I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle on my salt, pepper, and nutmeg. And get that stirred in. I don't want my garlic to get bitter on me. And once it's pretty much incorporated, I'm going to go ahead and add my spinach. Like I said earlier, this is a package of just frozen spinach. I'm also going to go ahead and turn off my heat. This is a package of frozen spinach that I thawed out and drained. And we're just going to incorporate that in. I'm not really trying to cook it or anything. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in my bowl to let it cool off a little bit. Once this is cooled off enough to handle, I'm going to go ahead and start stirring in all of my cheese and then get it ready to put in the wrapper and then deep fry. Our mixture is cooled off just about as long as it took to get the kitchen cleaned back up. So to this, I'm going to add a cup of mozzarella cheese and a half a cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. And I'm using fresh Parmesan, but that's only because we had some left over and it was starting to get moldy, so I cut the moldy parts off and went ahead and shredded it for this. But you can certainly use in the bottle or make your own or however. Also, an 8-ounce package of cream cheese that is at room temperature. And we're going to just stir this in. Alright, this is all incorporated, and like you can see, it pretty much holds together pretty well. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and put them in my wonton wrappers. Actually, they're egg roll wrapper. Wonton wrappers are smaller. And I'm going to start with one wrapper. Be sure you keep your wrappers covered with a damp towel in between, because if not, they can dry out and then they'll break on you. I'm going to add a little bit more. So add a decent amount, not too much or else you'll never get it closed. Oh, no, that looks like, I think that'll be about right. So what I'm going to do is get a little bit of water and put it along two edges of my wonton wrapper here. That's going to stick it together. I'm going to fold over the first one. Tuck it in, fold over the second one, tuck this in, and then I'm just going to roll it up and make sure that all the edges are sealed, and then put these on a plate and cover them with a damp towel, or a very damp towel, because these wonton wrappers will turn crazy on you and get all sticky. But I'm going to let this set for a few minutes. If you see any open areas, you can just pinch them. I'm going to let this set for a little bit to kind of stick together, and then I'm going to put it in my oil. Our oil is ready, and I know it's ready because I'm just going to put the end of it in here, and when it starts to sizzle a little bit, I know that that is the temperature I want. You want to make sure it's not too hot or else it will burn, and you don't want it too cool or else it's not going to cook. Now tonight I will be using a deep fat fryer. This is just my sample here. And it might stick a little bit. If it does, you can always get it out with a spatula. Although if we let it set for a minute, it should go ahead and sear that wonton wrapper. It should sear that egg roll wrapper and come out real easy for us. This little guy, he did unstick as I had hoped. And he looks very nice and brown, maybe a little bit white, but if we, the oil might have been a little bit too cool for him, but he's nice and crispy. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my oil off the heat so it doesn't keep going. And I think it's going to be about 350 is what I'm going to set my oil to tonight. I'm going to go ahead while it's still hot and add a little Parmesan cheese to it, and I'm going to let it set for just a minute, and then I'm going to cut it open and we'll see how it looks. Well, we had a chance to let it cool off a little bit, and here it is. I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half. It's nice and crunchy. The inside looks really good. I don't know if you can see. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a taste. It tastes very close to the restaurant we had it in. I think this is definitely a success. Tonight I'm going to also add some warm marinara sauce to dip it in. But these are really good just all by themselves. So I hope you give it a try, and I hope that you like them.